under the trees. I didn't know what to do. I was stupid and drunk, and I didn't know what was happening. And then he raped me. When the police came, everyone was screaming, and I was just too scared. So I cut through some backyards and walked home. I couldn't tell anybody. Melinda Sorno is 13 years old when senior Andy Evans rapes her. For 1 year, she tells no one. In fact, she quits talking altogether. She even finds an unused closet at her school to hide herself in. Finally, at the end of the school year, Melinda is forced to come face to face with her fears and must finally speak. This is Speak by Lawyer Hall Sanderson. I don't want to hang out in my little hidey hole anymore. I don't feel like hiding anymore. I head for my closet after school. I want to take the poster of Myiah home, and I'd like to give him some of my pictures too. The rest of the stuff can stay as long as it doesn't have my name on it. Who knows, some other kid may need a safe place to run off to next year. I leave the door cracked open a bit so I can breathe. It's hard to get the pictures off the walls without tearing them. The day is getting hotter and there's no circulation here. I open the door wider. Who's going to come by now? By this point in the year, teachers take off faster than students when the final bell rings. The only people left are a few teams scattered on the practice fields. I should have gone to my locker first and got my backpack. I forgot about the books that are in here. I shut out the light and head out for my locker. Somebody slams into my chest and knocks back into the closet. The light flicks on and the door closes. I am trapped with it, Andy Evans, Andy Beast. You're one strange whore, know that? A freak. Can't believe anyone listened to you. He grabs my wrist. I try to pull them back and he squeezes so tight it feels like my bones are splintering. He pins me against the closed door. My angel looks at me. She tells me to make some noise. I open my mouth and take a deep breath. You're not going to scream. You didn't scream before. You liked it. You're jealous that I took out your friend and not you. I think I know what you want. His mouth is on my face. I twist my head. His lips are wet. His teeth knock against my cheekbones. I pull my arms again and he slams his body against mine. I have no legs. My heart wobbles. He fumbles to hold both my wrists in one hand. I remember, metal hands, hot knife hands. No, a sound explodes from me. No! I follow the sound, pushing off the wall, pushing Andy Evans off balance, stumbling into the broken sink. He curses and turns, his fist coming, an explosion in my head and blood in my mouth. He hit me! I scream. Why aren't these walls falling? I'm screaming louder to make the whole school crumble. I grab for anything. My bowl, I throw it at him. He bounces to the floor. My books, he swears again. The door is locked. He grabs me, pulls me away from the closed door. One hand over my mouth, one hand around my throat. He leans me against the sink. My fists mean nothing to him. Little rabbit paws thumping harmlessly. His body crushes me. My fingers wave overhead, looking for a branch, a limb, something to hang on to. A block of wood. I slammed it against the poster. I hear a crunch. It doesn't hear. It breathes like a dragon. Its hand leaves my throat, attacks my body. I hit the wood against the poster, and the mirror under it again. Shards of glass slip down the wall and into the sink. It pulls away from me, puzzled. I reach in and wrap my fingers around a triangle of glass. I hold it to Andy Evans' neck. He freezes. I push just hard enough to raise one drop of blood. I want to insert the glass all the way through his throat. I want to hear him scream. I look up. I see a stubble on his chin, a fleck of white in the corner of his mouth. His lips are paralyzed. He cannot speak. That's good enough. I said no. He nods. Someone is pounding on the door. I unlock it and the door swings open. Nicole is there, along with little costume, sweaty, angry, their sticks held high. Someone peels off and runs for help. I have survived. I am here. Confused, screwed up, but here. So how can I find my way? Is there a chainsaw to the soul? An axe I can take to my memories or fears? A small, clean part of my weights to warm and burst to the surface? Some quiet Melinda girl I haven't seen in months. This is a seed I will care for. It happened. There is no avoiding it. No running away or flying or burying or hiding. Andy Evans raped me in August when I was drunk and too young to know what was happening. It wasn't my fault. He hurt me. It wasn't my fault. and I'm not going to let it kill me. I can grow, and I will grow.
Siesta, forty-winks, shut-eye, catnap. We call these short bursts of sleep many things, and people have varying attitudes about naps. According to the National Sleep Foundation, 85% of mammalian species are polyphasic sleepers, meaning their days are split up into multiple periods for sleep, whereas humans are from the minority monophasic sleepers, meaning our days are split into two periods, one for being awake and one for sleeping. But for some people, these two periods are broken with a nap. Now, people have varying attitudes about naps, and those who often take naps are often considered to be lazy, have a lack of ambition, and low standards for themselves. This discourages others from taking the naps they desperately need. And those who do take naps often consider negative attributes with them, such as sleep inertia, which is a period of grogginess or disorientation after awakening from a deep sleep, according to the National Sleep Foundation. But taking naps can't be all that bad. Just ask some famous nappers, such as Winston Churchill, John F. Kennedy, Ronald Reagan, Thomas Edison, Albert Einstein, and George W. Bush, who are all known to have valued naps. Since taking naps can be such a bad thing, I'm going to tell you about the benefits of naps, the different types of naps, and the steps to taking good naps. To begin, there are many unknown benefits to taking naps. Most people could guess that taking naps might boost your critical thinking, alertness, and mood, but many people don't realize that they increase in as little as 10 minutes of sleep, according to Michael Terman, PhD. Michael J. Burris, PhD, a clinical psychologist, also states that taking naps can boost your brain function, cognitive function, and lower your stress. But wait, it gets better. A large 6-year study of Greek adults found that men who take naps at least 3 times a week reduce their risk of heart-related death by 37%. Now, it used to be a big no-no taking naps during working hours. Ashad Chowdhury, founder of Mesha Naps, noticed his co-workers taking naps in bathroom stalls to avoid the consequences while he worked as a banker. Now Chowdhury has his own company that specializes in fatigue mitigation services, which is researching to see whether your employees are sleep deprived and how that affects their work, and installing futuristic bed chairs called energy pods. At Chowdhury's company, workers have to take their daily siestas, or they might risk getting fired. Some companies that are utilizing nap potential are Procter & Gamble, Zappos, Cisco, and even Google. Now that you know all the benefits, here are the 3 main categories of naps according to the National Sleep Foundation: planned napping, emergency napping, and habitual napping. Planned napping involves a person taking a nap before he or she actually gets tired or to ward off getting tired earlier. Emergency napping is when you get so tired you can't continue the activity you're participating in. You'd use this type of nap to combat drowsy driving or fatigue while operating heavy and dangerous machinery. Habitual napping involves a person taking a nap at the same time each day. This type of nap is often used by children. Now here are 9 different types of naps that fit in within those 3 categories to use when needed. The first is the CEO nap, which is when you really need a boost in critical thinking skills. This is a 25-minute nap in the mid-afternoon, around 1 to 3 p.m. Next, the Napa Latte combines a moderate amount of caffeine, which is 60 ounces of coffee or 90 to 100 milligrams of caffeine, with a 20-minute nap right afterwards. The new mom nap is used by moms and dads who are taking care of newborns and young children. The strategy to this nap is just to nap when your child naps. The sports nap is a short 15 to 20-minute nap before competing in a sporting event to give you an extra boost while you compete. A disco nap is a 90-minute nap when you know you're playing a late night. Now, this is a special occasion nap and should not be made a regular habit. A siesta is a nap used in other countries such as Spain, Greece, Mexico, and Costa Rica. They close shop doors at 2:30 to give people time to recharge. The teen nap is used by teens since lack of sleep puts us at a greater risk of academic, emotional, and behavioral problems. This nap consists up to 90 minutes on the weekends. The jet lag nap is used when you're traveling to a different time zone. The strategy to this is to sleep on the plane and then 20-minute nap when you land. This helps you sleep when the locals sleep. The shift work nap is used by shift workers since they're awake when their bodies are meant to be asleep. The nap of a shift worker might consist of short naps before and then during breaks of the shift, and 2 segments of naps afterwards, one lasting 4 to 5 hours, and then 1, possibly 2, 90-minute naps throughout the day. No matter which type of nap you use, here are 6 steps to make sure that nap is a good one. The first step is to give yourself permission to nap. You might think you're being lazy when should be being productive, but taking naps is healthy, so don't feel so guilty. second step is to pick your time. Napping too early or too late can be problematic. The optimal time to take a nap is between 1 and 3 p.m. The third step is to pick your place. Napping on a bed or couch is ideal. This is supported by a study from China that found sleeping while laying down was more refreshing than sleeping in a seat. The fourth step is to make yourself comfortable. Try to make the room as dark and as quiet as you can. Also think of the room temperature. It should be comfortable but not too toasty. This can lead you to oversleep. The fifth step is to gather your gear. A small pillow or blanket might make you feel more cozy when napping away from home. An eye mask or earplugs are also a good option if the room isn't as dark or as quiet as you like. Headphones are also an option to listen to relaxing sounds, such as the Blume soundtrack, which according to New Zealand study increase post-nap well-being. And the sixth and final step to taking the best naps ever is to grab 20 weeks, not 40. A nap lasting longer than 30 minutes can cause that pesky sleep inertia to occur. In conclusion, taking a quick cat nap throughout your day isn't a bad thing. Now you know the benefits of naps, the different types of naps, and the steps to taking the best naps ever. Hopefully next time you take a nap, it's perfect. Thanks.
My sister Lizzie died today. Wow. What a weird thing to say, you know, because it's true. And it's not like we didn't expect it. She's been missing for months. And even before that, she was always in and out, running away. So Mom and I were always like, Lizzie's gone. Not like we said it to each other on a daily basis, or even said it at all. But it was always just there, hanging in the air. Lizzie's gone. Dot, dot, dot. Dealing with internal pain can be a struggle for us all. Meet two girls who are each suffering. One is mourning the loss of her sister and a grief-filled mother, and the other is living at home with an abusive stepfather. For both of these girls, relief came in the form of self-mutilation or cutting. Now, can this relief really bring the help these girls need? From The Prose Scars by David Ralph and Brian Wheeler, and The Monologue Girl by Megan Mostyn Brown. A program searching for a solution. Lizzie's gone. Dot, dot, dot. Maybe that's what's different. No ellipses. It's, what do you call it? Yes, a declarative sentence. Anyways, it's not the kind of sentence with a period at the end of it. Lizzie's gone, period. It's funny, you know. I didn't cry at all today. And I felt really bad because you're supposed to cry when people die. But honest to God, all I could think about all day, that if I was going to jump off that bridge like her, I wouldn't do it in the middle of July. And that's messed up, right? To be thinking of that instead of being sad. I would do it in November or the beginning of March. On one of those days when you wake up with a chill because it never really stops drizzling outside. And the bridge would be just a little bit slippery and the water icy cold. And people would have to wonder, did she do it on purpose or was the handrail too slick? My mom hasn't said anything all day. I take that back. She hasn't said anything to me. She said thank you to a police officer who came to our house this morning, and she mumbled Lizzie's name to the receptionist at the morgue. I didn't go in. Anyways, I'm glad I didn't go in, you know, to look at the body. Because when people drown, they get all blue and bloated. Not like I've ever seen it before, but that's what they show in movies. And I like to think of Lizzie, like that picture, the one from Ophelia. She's floating on her back in this pond with this gorgeous dress on and a crown full of flowers on her head. That's how I like to think of her. There's going to be a funeral, and who are we going to invite? Because Mom and I don't know who Lizzie's friends are. She stopped telling us stuff like that years ago. Mom would press her for it, and they would fight, you know, screaming, yelling, breaking things. Pretty soon, Lizzie just stopped coming home for good. Now she's gone, it's like we can finally erase all that bad stuff. Wow. Sounds like I'm glad she's dead. I've been thinking a lot, and it sucks because all I can think about is Lizzie. There was this article in the paper today about lost youth, and they mentioned her saying how sad it was that her life ended so soon. And what a statement it made on demise of adolescents in our society. Then they gave all these statistics about suicide, and that's it. They didn't even talk to us or list any details about her life. They just mentioned her name, some facts about her death, and just placed her in a section of a pie chart. I mean, Jesus. They left out everything. It's like they felt sorry for her without even, she was a drug addict. I pinched my arm really hard so I won't. See, because of all this, it's just a lot when you're 15 years old. See, I started. Well, for a while now, I've been hurting myself. I don't know why I cut myself, maybe for the tension. Most likely because it allowed me to escape from my reality. But the fact is, it let me feel. Every time I touch them, I remember. The scars represent who I am. Each tells its own story. And I don't know how to explain it other than it just felt right. It gave me power. For once I was the one in control. And you're probably thinking this girl is strange. Cut yourself to gain control. And you're right. It is strange. But it was true. Mutilation was a way of preservation. Feeling the pain of the blade against my arm, for me, meant being alive. And it was actually exhilarating. And for a moment, the reality that was my mom lying in a heap on the living room floor seemed to disappear. Relief for me came in the shape of a pair of scissors. Cutting became like I imagined a fix to be for a heroin addict. It seemed like I couldn't go one day without it. Whenever my mom would crawl with I found my scissors in a new place on my body to inflict control. Adam moved from cutting on my arms to cutting on my breast when my mom asked why I was wearing long sleeves in the summer. But I didn't care about where the cut went as long as it got there. I can't even look at my breast now without thinking, why are all these scars here? When you're young and don't know any better, you don't look for a way to stop this horrible thing. You just look for a way to cope. And I knew what Carl was doing was wrong, but I didn't know that it should have been happening. Cutting made it go away. And that was enough to keep me alive. So last night, the house is like a suffocating quiet. So I use a straight razor, and after it's like deep breaths and fireworks and the good kind of weak knees all at once. Until I notice there's no point in being graphic. Suffice to say, there's a lot of blood. And it won't stop no matter how much pressure I put on it. And I'm starting to get worried because I'm feeling sort of faint. And I don't know what to do to make it stop. So I walk to the emergency room, which is good because they stitch me up. But since I'm a minor and they know my arm isn't the incident I played it off to be, they call Mom and make me sit in the office with a nurse who asked me if I've ever done anything like this before. Which is the stupidest question, but she can see all the scars and marks on my arms. So I answer yes, in this voice that doesn't sound like me at all, and I can't look her into the eyes, so I just stare at the floor, which has the exact same tiling as the morgue did. She asked me how many years it's been going on, and I say 2. I lift up the salmon pink hospital gown, and Jesus, there's a lot. Words carved, hate, ugly. So I'm like, can I go home now? I'm a good person. I get straight A's, swear to God, and I promise I won't do it again. I just want to go home like really badly. But I can't leave until my mom gets here. And I think I'm either going to throw up or break into a million tiny pieces, so I just stare at my toes. Because maybe, just maybe, if I make myself small enough, this will all go away. I get up this morning, and Mom's not at work. She's at home making plans for Lizzie's funeral. All the knives were gone, and my razor, to shave my legs with, was missing. At dinner this evening, we sat in complete silence. I don't even know why we go through the motions anymore. She served soup and salad, things you can't cut. She acts like I didn't notice her peeking at my arms. I mean, it's not as though she's going to see anything, right? I mean, I haven't stopped. I can't. It's the only thing in this whole mess that is mine. So I just moved my activities to a new region, under here. And the only thing that keeps me sane is this stupid fantasy I have, where I clear everything off the table with one swoop on my arm. Like people do in the movies when someone royally screwed them over and they're trying to make a point. Anyways, all the dishes go crashing to the floor, and Mom just sits there because she's so in shock I did this horrible and violent thing. I take off all my clothes, strip down to my bra and underwear so she can see all the scars and marks, and I would tell her where each one is from. I'd say, this one right here, I did the night you yelled at me when Lizzie broke curfew for the 87th time. This one is when you missed my school play because you were too tired from roaming the city all night looking for her. And this I did after I cleaned the whole house, scrubbed the floors and everything, and you didn't even notice because Lizzie stole the stereo. This one I did after we picked her up from jail. These along my arms the last 6 months Lizzie has been missing. This one is when you left me standing in front of a conveyor belt full of groceries and a line of angry customers behind me because you thought you saw her in the parking lot. And while all the normal families load their brown bags to their station wagons to go home to have real family dinners, I was the mother, and I held your head in my lap while you cried because it wasn't her. And this long one that curves from my wrist to my elbow is because you haven't spoken to me since Monday, when she died. I am here. I still exist. Knock, knock.
The door's open. What? What do you want?
Hi, I'm Dina Williams. I just wanted to introduce myself.
Yeah, I know who you are.
I live just 2 doors down. It has a big picture of Johnny Depp on the door.
Yeah, I've seen it. Just like I saw the picture of Garth Brooks before that one, and the picture of Zac Efron, and then you had the picture of Justin Timberlake. And well, the point is I've seen it because it's very noticeable.
Look, I just figured that, well, since we're neighbors, if you weren't doing anything too important, that we could spend a little time together, you know, quality girl time.
As a matter of fact, I'm not doing anything to the utmost importance, but I'm curious as to, Dina, is it? I'm curious as to why you feel that we need to get to know each other. I mean, you've lived 2 doors down from me for years.
Yeah, for years. 16 years. I mean, we are sisters, for goodness sakes.
Exactly. We're sisters, so why in the world do we need to get to know each other? You're my older sister. I know you, we know each other.
Do we really?
A sister's bond is strong.
But can it withstand a night on the town?
Little Secrets.
By Celeste LeBeau. Look, I just figured with Mom gone away for the weekend that we should use this time to really get to know each other. I mean, yeah, we're sisters and all. But you gotta admit, we've never done a sister thing. We've never shared a bedroom. We've never talked about boys. We've never smoked before.
You smoke?
Are you kidding? Mom would kill me. Which is probably why we've never smoked before. But think about it. No curfew, no one telling us what to do. I'm of legal age now, so who knows what we could do tonight. What do you say? Are you game?
Does the kitten purr?
I was hoping you'd say that. Well, not exactly that, but I was hoping you'd say yes.
Really?
I promise you a night that you will always remember.
I can't believe you brought me to a casino.
I mean, if we play our cards right, we might get lucky. That's funny.
What's funny?
I said if we play our cards right.
Why is that funny?
We're playing nickel slots.
Oh, okay, I never realized it before, but you have a pretty good sense of humor.
What, you thought I'm Miss Serious because I wear a lot of black?
No, I just never realized how fun you could be, that's all. Anyway, I can't believe those ID checkers didn't even look twice when I showed them your driver's license.
You're just lucky I still have my fake ID from when I was your age.
This is really fun. Thanks for bringing me here.
Could be fun if we could hit a jackpot.
I don't know, I'm down to my last nickel. What about you?
I only got 2. I got an idea.
What?
We've been doing 1 nickel per pull, right?
Yeah.
Why don't we combine all 3 and pull it together?
With 3 nickels and make our jackpot bigger, wouldn't it?
Certainly would.
Let's try it. Are you ready?
Does an elephant...
I was hoping you'd say that.
3 seconds!
We won!
Jackpot.
How much did we win?
$1,500.
15. Okay, so what do we do?
You're giving me my driver's license back. One of us is cashing this in and we're not getting caught.
Then what should we do?
Celebrate, my dear sister, celebrate.
Mom would freak if she knew that we were staying in a luxury hotel. Do you think she'll find out?
No, I already got it taken care of. When you were down in the gift shop, I used her payphone and I called her and told her that we were going to catch a late night movie or something and call her tomorrow.
So you lied to Mom?
No, we'll catch a late night movie on TV or something.
Very sneaky. I'm starting to see why Mom sometimes has her doubts whether to trust you or not.
Speaking of trust, why don't we tell secrets?
What kind of secrets?
Any kind. Here, I'll start. When you were little, I took 3 of your dolls and I cut their hair.
You're kidding. Mom told me they wanted to be more in style, so they went to the beauty salon for makeovers.
Makeovers?
Okay, I've got one.
Alright.
Do
Of course I remember Kenneth. He's the only guy I ever had a crush on in school.
Well, one day he came over to deliver a box of Valentine's Day chocolate.
I don't remember that.
Well, you wouldn't, because, well, you weren't home, and I was in the mood for something really sweet.
You didn't!
I did, and it was so good. It was that name brand stuff.
No wonder he stopped talking to me. He thought that I was going to take your chocolate and not say thank you type of girl. I got another secret.
Okay, I'm all ears.
No, this one's not a funny secret.
What do you mean?
This one's about Dad.
What about Dad?
Before he got into the car accident, he used to come into my room at night.
Yeah, he'd do that for both of us. That's when he tells goodnight.
No, I'm saying he'd come back to my room.
How do you know that?
It's always taken me a long time to fall asleep at night. I'll lay down in my bed, and I'll close my eyes, but I won't actually fall asleep. And one day I heard the door open, and I thought it was like a burglar or something, and I just saw him just standing there, staring at me.
Just stop it.
I was scared, Cindy!
Just stop it! Did he do anything to you?
Well, no, but
stop!
For months I thought to myself, am I crazy? Had he done this for years? Had I just never noticed? And now we'll never know.
Why? What? I can't believe this.
Well, believe it, this stuff is learned. For example, Grandpa used to abuse Aunt Mary.
What?
I couldn't sleep one night as usual, and I went downstairs to get a glass of water, and I heard Grandma say that that's the real reason why she divorced 10 years before.
I can't believe you're telling me this.
Why do you think Mom goes and drops everything to spend a week at a time with Aunt Mary? Because Grandma's scared that one day she's going to get a call saying that her only daughter's dead.
Dead?
They talked about unsuccessful suicide attempts.
Why are you telling me all this? Why did you think I needed to know all this? Why?
That was the whole point of tonight, was that we should be able to tell each other anything. And if that means you have to be uncomfortable, then so be it.
It's just, I don't think it's right to talk about someone when they're not even here to tell their side of the story. And I love them both so much, and I don't want my memories of them to change. Can you understand that?
Yeah, I love them too, you know. Friends?
No. We're sisters.
Good, I'm glad we're friends.
No, we're sisters.
Now, will you promise me something?
Anything, name it.
That you will never tell Mom about tonight.
I promise. It'll be our little secret.
Once upon a time, there's a magical golden castle on a silver cloud high up in the sky. Which actually has nothing to do with our story, because our story is about an old woodchopper who lived in a shack. But that's a good way to start off any fairy tale, right? Everyone knows the classic tale of Beauty and the Beast, but let's take a different look at things. Beauty and the Beast by A.J. Jacobs. The old man who lived there was very happy, but he had a daughter who was very unhappy because, well, she was rather plain. Anyways, it was time for her to get married, but because she was so fat and ugly, none of the young men in the village wanted to ask for her hand, or any other part of her for that matter. Then one day, the old man decided to cheer her up. Child, it is your birthday, and for your birthday, I have brought you something to keep you from being so lonely. A man, she said with wide gleaming eyes. Nope, a mule. And he pointed to a brown, furry, fur-legged, grunting beast. Well, a mule wasn't exactly what she thought of whenever she thought of a companion, but at least it was someone to talk to. Hi there, silly beast, she said to the mule. I wonder if you were once a handsome prince changed into a mule by a wicked witch. If so, I could break the spell with a kiss, and mwah, she smacked the mule right on its lips. It was no use, though. The mule was a mule and always had been a mule. The next day, the old man instructed his daughter to take a bundle of sticks to the village. A bundle of sticks? What for? How should I know? But someone is always carrying a bundle of sticks around in fairy tales. You know that. And so the young girl decided to take her trusty mule into the village. And unknown to her, the moment she climbed on the mule's back, poof, she was immediately beautiful. You know the type. Blonde hair, blue eyes, and a figure like none other. Anyways, when she reached the village, she could hardly believe her eyes, for all the young men, instead of laughing and throwing mud at her, were bowing, tipping their hats, and making catcalls. She was still trying to figure it out when a handsome young prince rode up to her on a snow-white horse. "Ah, fair lady," he exclaimed, "you are truly the most beautiful in all of the land." "Why, my prince, are you nuts or something?" "With your permission, I should like to call upon your house. How about when the clock strikes 8-ish? Flustered with excitement, the girl raced home, but whenever she got off the mule's back, she poof, immediately back into her ugly self. And that night, promptly at 8, the prince, sitting aside on his white charger, knocked on the door. The girl opened the door and smiled her crooked one-tooth smile. "Hello!" Said the prince, who at the moment looked like he needed a little Pepto-Bismol. "Is your sister home?" "I don't have a sister." "Your aunt, then?" "I don't have an aunt." "Your cousin, your best friend, your babysitter." "What are you talking about? I live here alone with my father." The prince, figuring he had hit the wrong house, raced off to find her, leaving the poor girl left there, heartbroken, and still trying to figure it out. The following day, her father again asked her to go to the village, but this time to pick up a bundle of sticks. "It'll take your mind off of your ugliness." No sooner had the girl climbed on the mule's back, and poof, immediately beautiful again. And on the way to the village, she chanced by a clearing with some water in it. Looking into it, she saw her reflection and jumped off to get a closer look. And the moment she got off the mule's back, poof, immediately ugly again. And then she suddenly realized it. "I get it now," she said out loud, talking to no one in particular, as they do in fairy tales. "This is a magic mule. As long as I sit on this beast, I'm a beauty." And the girl jumped back on the mule's back to find her prince. And the beauty and the beast dashed off. And when he saw her coming, he rode up to her on his gallant steed. "Ah, fair lady, I have found you again. Please, won't you say you be mine so we may get married?" "Yes, but on one condition, that I stay on this mule at all times." Of course, this sounds like a strange request, but the prince agreed. "So be it, my love, and so that we may start off on the right foot or on the right hoof, I shall stay on my horse as long as you stay on your mule." And thus they were married by a priest on a donkey. As the years went by, the girl was very happy, although the mule did suffer a backache. And to his word, the prince stayed on his horse. But one day they went to a garden, and whoosh went the wind, and off went her bonnet. Not stopping to think, she hopped off to the mule to get her hat, and poof, immediately back into her ugly self. Realizing her mistake, she scrambled to get back into the saddle, but it was too late, for the prince had already rode up. "Pardon me, old hag, have you seen my wife?" "Wait a minute, that's a mule!" "Yes, and I am your wife." She sadly began to confess the whole story, and he did something amazing. Instead of being angry, he was clapping his hands and laughing with joy. "Yahoo! Yippee!" "I don't get it. Are you really happy to find out that I'm ugly?" No. I'm happy I can finally get off this blasted horse. You see, I am only a handsome prince when I stay on him." And with that, the prince hopped off his horse, and poof, he turned into the ugliest man to have ever walked the earth. "You're uglier than I am." "We were meant for each other, my love. And just think, no more saddle sores." And so, the ugly man and the ugly girl were able to live happily ever after.
For the rest of my life, I will be haunted by the horror and anguish my son caused. I cannot look at a child in the grocery store or on the streets without thinking about how my son's classmates spent the last moments of their lives. I think I believed that if I loved someone as deeply as I loved him, I would know if he were in trouble. My maternal instincts would keep him safe. But I didn't know. My instincts weren't enough. And the fact that I never saw a tragedy coming is still almost inconceivable to me. In the face of a tragedy like a school shooting, we are shown the face of the shooter and we judge this person harshly. But what we fail to consider is the person who stands by the shooter, their mother. This is Staph Infection from the play Commencement by Clay McLeod Chapman. They gave me my own waiting room, hid me in the pediatric wing, far away from the rest of the families. It's much quieter at this end of the hospital, less hectic, less parents, less press. Spent the last hour simply listening to the hum of the fluorescents above my head. Went over to the window on a whim once, lured in by the camera flashes. The parking lot is all gone now, suddenly engulfed in a forest of transmission antennas butting up from the roofs of these news vans. When Mitchell was much younger, he and a handful of kids from the neighborhood went out into the woods behind our houses to play a game of hide and seek. When it was Mitchell's turn to be it, he leaned his head against his tree, closed his eyes, and counted to 100. When he turned back around, he found himself facing the woods all alone. "Ready or not, here I come!" echoing through the trees. But what Mitchell didn't realize, and why would he really, was that everyone else had already run home by then. Didn't stop him from playing, though, peeking behind the trees, searching for his friends. An hour went by before I was on the phone with the neighbors asking if any of them knew where Mitchell was. But none of their kids would say, simply shrugging their shoulders. When there weren't any parents left to call, I took to the woods myself, flashlight in hand. I finally found him there, leaning against a tree, huddled into himself, shivering. Poor thing caught pneumonia that night. I had to take him to the hospital, waiting in this same room. Do you want to tell me what happened? No. We can keep it between me and you if you like. Promise I won't tell. I don't want to talk about it. The amount of times that I've had to wait in this room, I've lost count by now. They all sort of blend together over the years. All the checkups, the flu shots, the mumps, not to mention ear infections, a tonsillectomy, a sprained wrist. The list just goes on and on. It's a wonder my son even reached high school. How any of our kids made it this far. Not that the news is saying anything, not until the police notify the next of kin. The reporters have been recycling the same information for hours now. The live coverage sounding stale already. No names yet, just numbers. Last time I had to wait this long was because Mitchell swallowed something he shouldn't have. Marbles. Started complaining about his tummy aching at the dinner table, refusing to finish his macaroni, so the very next day I brought him in for an x-ray, and sure enough, there they were. A constellation of bright white contrasting against the ghastly black of his stomach, the negative image of a half a dozen glass pellets settled into his stomach. Benjamin Pendleton put him up to it. Said he'd be his best friend if he swallowed the whole set. All 10 marbles. And to think that Mitchell had almost made it more than halfway there, determined to earn Benjamin Pendleton's approval to win his position as bestest pals. Only giving up once his own throat constricted itself, his own esophagus refusing to swallow anymore, no matter how hard he tried, no matter how hard he begged himself to ingest just one last marble before stumbling back home, sick to his stomach, to prove his worth as a friend to Benjamin. Do you want to tell me who put you up to this? No. Mitchell, you're only hurting yourself by not saying anything. I don't want to talk about it. The police have been ushering in the parents through the rear entrance of the hospital, away from the camera crews. The second I saw Wendy Pendleton, I knew why she was here. Recognized her right away, even though we hadn't spoken to each other since our sons were in 3rd grade together. Her eyes had glazed over. Nothing but a pair of marbles settled into the sockets. Felt like I was staring at a teddy bear, not some mother who had just identified her son. They had placed a police officer right outside my door. For my protection, they say. They're worried some wandering father might find me in here, hiding amongst the stuffed animals. fitting to be sitting here then, almost like old times. Wouldn't be so surprised if a nurse were to walk in any minute now, calling out Mitchell's name. The doctor will see you now. The amount of nurses will even come near me now, passing them all in the hallway, they'll simply bow their heads, focus on the linoleum rather than face me, as if they're afraid of me. The press is about to take my boy away from me now. This is my last chance to have him all to myself, the way that I want to remember him. I'm imagining some reporter sifting through the yearbook just to find his photograph. Can't even bring myself to look at his yearbook now. To see him there, surrounded by the rest. This grim assembly of smiles. It's nothing but an obituary now. The whole thing. The world will weep for the children of Middelhoff and High, but no one will weep for mine. I'll have to cry for my child alone. He's been omitted from the list of victims. Not that he was ever invited to their club anyway. Mitchell was never asked to play with the rest. Half of our trips to the hospital were for fractures that magically happened on their own, sprained wrists, no explanation whatsoever. They'll say that it was my son who took their children away from them, but what none of these parents are willing to admit is that their sons and daughters took my child away from me long before today. Mitchell had the bruises to prove it. Black eyes that looked like black holes, swallowing up my son. It was only a matter of time before there was nothing left of him to take back home. Can we talk? Why? Do you want to tell me what's been on your mind lately? No. Anything happening at school? No. What about Mom? Can we just chat? Just for a minute? There's nothing to talk about. There's plenty. Just let it go, Mom. Please, honey, I said no. Just drop it, all right? All I want is to sit with the rest of the parents, to mourn with them. I've lost my child too. Why can't I sit with them? We deserve to wait together. I found a stray puzzle piece at my feet. Has a wet complexion, softened with some child's saliva. Feels fleshy. I found another one tucked behind the leg of my chair. Same complexion, same wet texture. The two pieces fit together perfectly. Suddenly, a picture's coming into view. Here's a piece of his cheek, and here's a tooth. Here's a shard of his skull. Here's a lump of his hair, matted down in blood. I'm passing the time putting together this jigsaw puzzle of my son's face just to get one last look at him. High muzzle velocity. When Mitchell was done, he slipped the gun over his tongue. The blast ruptured all the soft tissue in the back of his skull, sending puzzle pieces all over the classroom wall. Children will put anything into their mouths.
Albert Einstein once said, "Everybody's a genius, but if you judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree, it'll live its whole life believing that it is stupid." Today I share with you the most important trial of our lives. The defendant is our broken education system. The victim, millions of students like me. I just Sue the School System by Prince E. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, today on trial we have modern day schooling. Glad you could come. Not only does he make fish climb up trees, but he also makes them climb down and do a 10-mile run. Tell me, school, are you proud of the things you've done? Turning millions of people into robots? Do you find that fun? Do you realize how many children relate to that fish swimming upstream in class believing they are useless? Well, the time has come. No more excuses. I call school to the stand and accuse him of calling creativity, individuality, and being intellectually abusive. He's an ancient institution that has outlived his usage. So, Your Honor, this concludes my opening statement, and I present to you the evidence of my case. I will prove it. Proceed. Exhibit A. Here's a modern-day phone. Recognize it? Now, here's a phone from 150 years ago. Big difference, right? Stay with me, all right? Here's a car today, and here's a car we used 150 years ago. Big difference, right? Well, get this. Here's a classroom of today, and here's a classroom we used 150 years ago. Now, ain't that a shame? In literally over a century, nothing has changed. Yet you claim to prepare students for the future. But with evidence like that, I must ask, do you prepare students for the future or the past? I did a background check on you and let the records show that you were made to train people to work in factories, which explains that you put students in straight rows, nice and neat. Raise your hand if you want to speak, give them a short break to eat, and for 8 hours a day, tell them what to think. Oh, and make them compete to get an A letter that determines a product quality, hence grade A of meat. I get it. We all have a past. I myself am no Gandhi. But today we don't need to make robot zombies. The world has progressed, and now we need people who think creatively, innovatively, critically, and independently, with the ability to connect. You see, every scientist will tell you no two brains are the same, and every parent with two or more children will confirm that claim. So please explain to me why you treat students like cookie-cutter frames or snap-back caps, giving this one-size-fits-all crap. Watch your language. Sorry, Your Honor. But if a doctor prescribed the exact same medicine to all of his patients, the results would be tragic. So many people would get changed. But when it comes to school, this is exactly what happens. This educational malpractice where one teacher stands in front of 20 children, each one having different strengths, different needs, different gifts, different dreams, and you teach the same thing, the same way. That's horrific. Ladies and gentlemen, the defendant should not be acquitted. This may be one of the worst criminal offenses ever to be committed. And let's mention the way you treat your employees. Objection! Overruled. I want to hear this. It's a shame. I mean, teachers have the most important job on the planet, yet they are underpaid. No wonder so many students are shortchanged. Let's be honest. Teachers should earn just as much as doctors, because a doctor can do heart surgery and save the life of a child, but a great teacher can reach the heart of that child and allow him to truly live. You see, teachers are heroes that often get blamed, but they're not the problem. They work in a system without many options or rights. Curriculums are created by policymakers where most of them haven't taught one day in their entire life. Just obsessed with standardized tests, I think bubbling in a multiple-choice question will determine success. That's outlandish. In fact, these tests are too cruel to be used and should be abandoned. But don't take my word for it. Take Frederick J. Kelly, the man who invented standardized testing, who said, and I quote, "These tests are too crude to be used and should be abandoned." Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, if we continue down this road, the results will be lethal. I don't have much faith in school, but I do have faith in people. And if we can customize healthcare, cars, and Facebook pages, then it is our duty to do the same for education, to upgrade change and to do away with school spirit, because that's useless unless we are working to bring the spirit out of each and every student. That should be our task. No more Common Core. Instead, let's reach the core of every heart in every class. Sure, math is important, but no more than art or dance. Let's give every gift an equal chance. I know this sounds like a dream, but countries like Finland are doing impressive things. They have shorter school days, teachers make a decent wage, homework is non-existent, they focus on collaboration instead of competition. But here's the kicker, boys and girls. Their educational system outperforms every other country in this world. Other places like Singapore are succeeding rapidly, schools like Montessori, programs like Khan Academy. There is no single solution. But let's get moving, because while students may be 20% of our population, they're 100% of our future. So let's attend to the dreams, and there's no telling what we can achieve. This is a world in which I believe. A world where fish are no longer forced to climb trees. I rest rest my case.
Wow, look at that girl, Flip. I think she'll win. She's very athletic.
That's a Playtex tampon commercial, Grandma, not a competition. My grandma stares at the screen with a silly smile on her face, barely understanding any of the English being spoken on her television.
I love the Olympics.
Alzheimer's is a debilitating neurodegenerative disease that affects the elderly and slowly worsens over time. In other words, it slowly kills a person's brain, causing them to forget who they are over time. This is Instant Ramen by Kelly Tran. My grandma is an immigrant. She has lived here in America for over 2 decades. However, even after 20 plus years, the American culture still hasn't entered her bloodstream. That's what makes her different from other grandmas in my neighborhood. She never knits sweaters or bakes cookies like the TV always promises me, but she destroys bees' nests with karate chops and kills snakes with her garden hoe. Kelly, give me the bigger hole. But Grandma, this is the biggest hoe you have. There's always a bigger hole. Grandma is a tough, liver-spotted woman who stands at a towering 4 foot 9 inches. She tells me to never change, but even if I do, she wants me to know that her love for me will last forever. In 4th grade, our teacher, Mrs. Vu, taught us an entire unit on food. One of our assignments was to write a story about the first recipe we ever learned, and while my classmates were taught how to make spaghetti or peanut butter cookies, I learned how to make instant ramen. My grandma taught me how to make it. First you take your noodles and put them in a bowl, then you add really hot water, next you put in your flavor, finally you wait 3 minutes and boom, you're done. Honey, this was supposed to be a recipe, not just a couple steps on how to... It was 3 steps. Well, the assignment was to teach the class something. But I am teaching something. I'm teaching everyone what my grandma taught me. I think you just misunderstood the assignment. Grandma doesn't make me instant ramen anymore. Instead, she just lies on the couch, facing the TV as the days and nights pass before her. She wears sunglasses while watching the tiny screen. She thinks they'll salvage her vision. Grandma's eyes are riveted to the story on the bright TV screen as if she's living inside the story itself. She wears that goofy smile that makes my heart melt. She can be so funny. The longer she stares, however, the more I watch her lose herself. Regardless, she wears that goofy smile that makes my heart ultimately give in. Her laughter is contagious. Despite her age, Grandma can be very childish at times. Although she is skeptical of doctors and all they prescribe, I tell her, it's time to take your medicine.
Kelly, I only take medicine you give me, and I want cherry.
Sometimes I forget about the person she used to be. Even the grandma from 10 years ago is a different person than who she is now. Grandma no longer has the energy to kill garden snakes or go to the mall anymore. Instead, she just likes to watch TV, specifically her Asian soap operas, in hopes that I too will become hooked on the sappy storylines. Grandma fills me in on each day's episode.
See, they used to want to love each other for many years, but her brother forbid it. He says, "Hey, stupid, you get no love tonight."
I watch the brother on the screen push the lovers down and walk away. I watch the 2 main characters look into each other's eyes, their fingers slowly interlocking as if they've never held hands before. Poorly dubbed, the fallen lover says, "I have grown up with you. You have changed so much, but my love for you will never change." His beautiful lover, holding his hand, gently presses it to her lips and with a whisper says, "It can never change." Sometimes I forget about the person she used to be. I miss the woman who used to dance like her life depended on it. I forget about the person who taught me to live life in the moment and appreciate the right now. Sometimes I forget about the person who taught me to cook my very first recipe. I forget about the person she used to be because her hair wasn't always white and her teeth weren't always false. When once upon a time, there was someone who made her grandchild some instant ramen noodles because I didn't know how to make them for myself. Grandma used to be young, and she loved life. In fact, she was one of life's most active participants. Today, she is merely a spectator watching the world pass her by. She uses the remote control to flip through the channels that at one time paled in comparison to the life she lived each and every day. It's funny. We only notice loneliness when we're the ones feeling lonely. I'm sorry, Grandma. Her wrinkled skin once demanded more play. Her cracked lips held more kisses. When Grandma got new dentures, I almost didn't recognize her. Her smile was different. However, over time I've gotten used to it. But time, please don't let me get used to her like this. Today, Grandma is now the student, and I am now the teacher. I'm teaching her the days of the week again. I want her to remember them. I want her to know that our tomorrow will always come. Now when we walk through grocery stores, I hold Grandma's hand. I don't want her to get lost. I want her to know that she's not alone. Grandma is now 78 years old. Today, for lunch, I'm making instant ramen. It's my favorite recipe. I want her to know I love her. Above all, though, I want her to know that no matter how much she changes, my love for her never will.
In my senior English class, I once learned a passage by Lord Alfred Tennyson that started with, "Dreams are true while they last. And do we not all live in dreams?" I always asked myself, is the same true for nightmares? My very first memories are like stacks of Polaroid pictures. The colors are hazy, and none of them are in and of themselves a complete memory. I remember talking to my mother as a young adult, describing a chair by the door, a fireplace, a Christmas tree, a phone being slammed down, and police coming to take away my father. Although she was surprised by my memories of that event, my mother colored in the lines. She told me how her husband, my father, had broken her nose. She ran away with us that day and never looked back. We spent that Christmas at a home for battered women. I was just 6 years old. I was married at 15. I met him in Athens, Alabama. I knew him before I became a woman. I was just a little girl, and already so in love. Everybody knew Jackson, and they all said the same thing about him. He's the goodest man in the world, till he gets to drinking. He did a lot of that. When he was drunk, he could be mean as a bull. Alcohol made the devil come out of my husband's soul. In October 2017, #MeToo spread virally and brought to light multiple cases of sexual harassment in the workplace. As important as this movement is, there's also need for recognition and help for the sexual harassment and worse, the violence that occurs in homes across America. According to the National Intimate Partners Survey, over 1 in 4 women and 1 in 3 men have reported experiencing rape, physical violence, and/or stalking by an intimate partner in their lifetime. Some do not survive or escape their attackers, but some are able to rise up and reclaim their lives. It's to them I pay homage using the drama Not Just Singing by Michael Weiss, the prose Silhouettes by Janet O'Neill, the poetry Stories I Ain't Told No One Yet by Joe Carson, as well as the autobiographical writing To Hell and Back, A Survivor Story by Ricky Gay. I present a program, Reclaiming Our Lives. It always started with a slow rage, boiling inside him, his voice a dead calm. He'd see me talking to someone in the cafeteria and call me a slut and say I was a whore. He'd always say, "I don't ask for much, just you." And it would start with a slap. And then he'd knock me down and corner me somewhere. And he'd transform into this monster, this being that was there to punish me. And I just remember thinking, please, hit me in the stomach. Don't hit me in the bones. It hurts so much worse than the bones, please. And I could apologize, but it wouldn't do any good. Please, please, hit me in the stomach. I'll throw up. I want to throw up. I cannot remember all the times he hit me. I could count the black eyes. The times I said I ran into doors or into the path of any flying object except his fist. Once, I got a black eye playing softball. The rest were him. 7, 8. I could name what he broke with me. My nose, my arm, 4 ribs, all in the course of 6 years of marriage. The ribs were after I said divorce, and in spite of a peace bond. I spent the night in the hospital, and he did not even spend 1 night in jail. The sheriff that I helped elect didn't apply the law to family business. He always said he never meant to do it. I do believe he never planned. It was always just the day, the way I looked at it. Maybe the first time he didn't mean to do it. Then maybe the broken ribs were for luck. Help me, help me! I saw it in his eyes. Crazy, crazy was in his eyes. As he took that knife from his whittling belt. I've seen that knife. Sometimes used it to cut up vegetables. Saw it, and it was gonna stick in me. Help me! And it came down and found a place in my body. My stomach is bleeding. It's bleeding bad. Lord, please. Lord, protect me. Protect me from the devil, Lord. I want to post this in ladies' rooms. Write it on the tags of women's underwear. And put it in the coupons that go in 10-packs packages. Because my ex-husband don't want to marry again. There's no tattoo where he can't see it to tell the next girl who might fall in love with him that after 6 months, maybe a year, he'll start with a slap that you could brush off. Leave him when he slaps you. When he starts to call you a cunt and a whore and threatens to kill you if you go. It'll almost be like teasing. But it's not. Keep 2 sets of car keys for yourself. And take your children with you when you go. If he's throwing things, then he's been drinking. And if he's drunk enough, he can't catch you. A punch to the breast hurts worse than a punch to the jaw. And a hit with an object does more damage than a hit with a fist. Unless he's so drunk he picks up the broom instead of the fire poker. If you pick up that poker, try to get it, and if he gets it, he'll hit you with it. Probably not kill you, because you'll pass out. And then he's all of a sudden sorry, and he stops. When he says he won't hit you again, when he drives you to the hospital, when you're both in tears and you're in pain. You stay too long already. Tell the people at the hospital the truth. No matter how much you think you love him. No matter how much he swears he loves you. He does love you. He loves to hurt you. And he will hit you again. I found my voice. after 5 long years. It's still too quiet at times, and I don't always make the choices that help us survivors reclaim the rights to our bodies, but I keep trying. I keep my head held high, and when someone pushes beyond my boundaries, I push back. It's time we all join together and push back. You're not a victim, you're a survivor. And you have a story to tell. So tell it loud. Practice saying no, loud and clear in the mirror. And teach your little ones to do the same. We're just one voice amid a world of influences, but our voice counts. And in the words of my friend, I believe you, and it's not your fault. In the scriptures, it says how Jesus was nailed upon that cross by his hands and his feet. Well, I thought about that. Jesus had a hole poked in him, the same way I had one in me. Not the same way, no, but we both felt that pain. He died from it, but I didn't. I lived on to see that scar where the knife laid in my body. And somehow it helps me. When I get up and I sing for the church, I sing. I feel Jesus. God, you're there. God, I hear you, God. Please be patient with me. God's not finished with me yet.
Every 13 minutes, a woman dies of breast cancer. There's little wonder then that almost every person has known a woman who has been diagnosed with breast cancer, and many have lost friends or relatives to the illness. Consequently, breast cancer is perhaps the most feared illness amongst women. But amidst all the fear and uncertainty, there is courage, and there is hope, and best of all, there are survivors. Using the poems What Cancer Cannot Do by an Unknown Author, and The Sisterhood by Linda Nelson, and the dramas The Bald and the Beautiful by J.J. Jonas, I Dream of Lillian by Elise Sharon, and My Left Breast by Susan Miller, a program, hope, and survival. When people think killer, they think about a door getting kicked in at 3 a.m., blood everywhere, and screams that can be heard through walls. But you see, when I think killer, I think about a very nice-looking Dr. James Middleton. When I say nice-looking, ladies, I mean imagine your dream man. Now multiply that by 10. That was Dr. J, as I called him. I laugh, but it was so hard to believe that such a killer-looking man, no pun intended, well, a little, could deliver such information. Evelyn, we detected a mass on your left breast. I'm so sorry, but it's breast cancer. Of course it is. A beautiful man like that wouldn't be declaring his love for me, now would he? No. To some women, that would be a dream, instead of the nightmare that my life was becoming. There are those who insist that certain types of people get cancer. So I wonder, is there a certain type who gets raped or tortured? Are there certain types who die young? Is there a certain type of Bosnian, Somalian Jew? Is there a certain type of African American who is denied, excluded, lynched? Were the victims of the Killing Fields people who couldn't express themselves? 1 out of every 8 women, count 'em, folks, just holding on to their anger? I remember a priest came to talk to me one day, and he talked to me about the will of God and how I was his servant, and I should be happy that he was using me as his instrument. I don't think God made me sick. I just got sick, that's all. Half the people I know think I'm supposed to be
learning a lesson, of serving others through my suffering. I think that's rather ridiculous. Imagine trying to second-guess life or God or anything. Like, we have the brains for that. Heck, we can't even cure cancer yet. What makes anyone think that they have the scoop on God? People can be awfully assuming at times, you know? Many women have found a lump, a little dimple, a tiny bump, but to hear the doctor say the worst is enough to make your bubble burst. No one knows the thoughts, the fears, except those who've shared those very same tears. Chemo. Now, when I speak of cocktails, I mean a large glass of red wine. But my new favorite flavor is chemo, with a radiation twist. Now, I'm a woman, and just like all women, my first thought is, am I going to lose my hair? Well, of course, I already lost my breasts, and as a woman, I started to think of the things I had left that made me a woman. My hair. Well, of course, I did lose it, but I wanted to change my outlook on the negative and try and make it positive. So it was my chance to express my fashion sense to the world. This scarf says, my grandmother was raised in the South and is darn proud of it. And this is my husband plays too much damn golf and I don't care what I look like scarf. I might have looked better with hair, but not bad. Not bad at all. Good bone structure. Even here, good bone structure. How many people do you think would look this good bald? You might think me vain, but I honestly think I'm pretty. Yes, even without the hair. Absolutely stunning. Have you ever seen such a winning smile? I miss it, but it's not a hand. I miss it, but it's not in my mind. It's not a roof over my head. It's not a word I need. It's not a sentence I can't live without. I miss it, but it's not a conversation with my son. I miss it. I miss it, but there's something growing in its place, and it's not tougher skin. The doctor says my heart is more exposed now, closer to the air. You don't have any protective tissue. I hardly need a stethoscope to hear it beat. I cherish the scar. It's a mark of experience, a history of me, a line that suggests I take it seriously, which I do. A line that suggests my beginning and my end. I have no other like it, no visible reminder of the baby I lost, or the friend. No constant monument to the passing of my relationship. There's no other sign on my body that repeats the incongruity, the desolation, the alarm. A scar is a challenge to see ourselves as survivors. After all, here's the proof. The body repairs itself, and the human heart, even after being broken into a million pieces, can make itself large again. I am a one-breasted menopausal Jewish mom, and I am the topic of our times. I am the cover of Newsweek, the editorial paper. I am a bestseller, and I am coming soon to a theater near you. Excuse me, but I need to scream now. That was good. But what I really want to do is break a chair. I've destroyed so much property in my mind. Smashed so many plates against the wall, ripped so many books from cover to cover. In my mind, I've taken all guilty parties to court, done damage for damage done. But I am the accommodating patient. I move on, get over it, exercise restraint. I am appropriate. Cancer is so limited. It cannot cripple love. It cannot shatter hope. It cannot corrode faith. It cannot eat away at peace or destroy confidence. It cannot kill a friendship or shut up memories. It cannot silence courage. It cannot reduce eternal life, and it cannot quench the spirit. I miss it. But I want to tell all women out there that we are still beautiful. We are still powerful. We are still sexy. And we are still here.